This may look like an ordinary, kind of a simple envelope. And so might this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, but they're not. I've been playing around with some ideas, and I was wondering how we could take two envelopes, two, standard envelopes, and we can hinge them together in the middle and then sew them into a signature. But what if we can make them out of one piece of paper? Hi, this is Kim Victoria. Thank you for joining me. And I hope that, I haven't seen this done, but it just occurred to me that maybe I could make an envelope that was a twin envelope, a hinged envelope, something that could be sewn into a signature this way or this way, and be and just be from one piece of paper. So those of you who've been doing this sort of thing for a while, this side and this side looked the same. And this was from a 12 by 12 piece of paper. So what I want to share with you today is the dimensions, different sizes, how I made the template and the design, and how you can make a template and a design of your own with your own materials, and a few options that I've discovered. So join me if this looks kind of interesting and cool. So this was one big 12 by 12 piece of paper, and now it's these two envelopes, and it's really pretty simple. And but yeah, let me share with you the dimensions and that sort of thing. So here we go. So here are just a few signature pages, just to show you. If you fold it this way, there you go. You got envelopes that you can sew in, and that's where I was going with this. And it could also go this way, and it could be sewn in. And the other thing is, this one I went ahead and glued, so it makes a really nice large pocket, but it could be left as something that opens up and encloses some things. So you've got a couple of options with that, but this was just something that I thought would be fun to be able to do. And these are the prototypes. Now, I do have some scrapbook paper here ready to go, and but I wanted to show you how to make a prototype, and then I'll show you these dimensions and a couple of different options. So that one is a hinged, and you can see the hinge here. And so these were the first, this was the very first one. So I just pulled a piece of trash out of the round file down here, and just made this with I think it was like an 8-inch by 8-inch piece of paper. So you can see an 8-inch by 8-inch. You can make a cute little envelope, and this of course can get tucked into a pocket with maybe a couple of little stickers or stamps, postage stamps or some other little piece of ephemera in there. So it's kind of a cute little thing. It can go either way. So that was the very first one that I was experimenting with. So I want to show you how to do this. So let's set these aside, and we'll come back to that, and we'll make a couple from scratch from some scrapbook paper. So just grab any piece of paper. This one was with 7 inches. This was from one of these old magazine pages. So if you've ever found the square kind of thing, no measuring. You don't need to do any measuring if you don't want to. So if you just grab a piece of paper and do it along with me, just something out of the trash, out of recycling. So yeah, so the first thing you do with a rectangle is you fold it on a diagonal to line that up, if you've never done it before. And that will give you a nice square. And this is just a little prototype, so it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. All right. So now we have our square. So fold your square in half this way. Either way, that's the square, so it's going to be the same. So fold it in half that way, and then fold it in half that way. And we do the half because we want to see how much overlap we want on our side flaps. And we only need a little bit. We need maybe about a 1/4 inch. Now, let me see if we got a little more clear space over here. Yeah, this will be better. I'm going to fold it this way because then I can take a pin. There we go. That way you can see the halfway. And we need to know where that is, and we need to know how much overlap. So what I did on my first ones was just to go like, oh, okay, I just need about a 1/4 inch. And fold that down. And same here, we need to just bring this side over just about about a 1/4 inch. No measuring. And if you wanted to, you could just take these two sides, fold it in half again, and just take these two sides and go, okay, we just need them to be longer on the side than the halfway mark, right? That's what we need to know. So now we have this line and this line. And they overlap the middle. So now we need our top flap. So let's just go ahead and say, well, let's make a tap. I'll make that one a little longer this time. So let's see, we'll make that a little bit longer. Just fold it down so you're visualizing your envelope shape here in this small area. That's it. Okay, so now we have this line and this line. So there are our shapes. So then it's just a matter of cutting off the excess. Now, in most envelopes, you have a little bit of a dip. It helps to be able to get in and out of the pocket, to have a little bit of a dip like that. So what we want to do is cut this on a little bit of an angle. So let's start there. It doesn't matter. You can make it a big dip or a little dip and go to that point where those two lines intersect. And for the moment, we can just cut off the excess. And if you want them to be exactly the same, there you go. Just fold it in half again. There we go. Now you have this. And now we want to make our point. So let's just go ahead and cut from the middle out to there, or maybe just a little above. Let's create a little bit of a little thing there. And we one more cut. We need to cut the bottom, not here. This is our hinge that's going to go in the gutter of our signature. So we just want to cut off teeny tiny little sliver. Really tiny sliver right to that point. And what we have now looks like this. So we fold that, and we fold that. And there are our two envelopes. They can go this way, or they can go that way. So that's how you make your own template. So after I did my experiments, I wanted to go with bigger paper. Now I have a big newsprint pad, 12 by 16. So I grabbed that. Let's see, I did this one first. And I was experimenting with my numbers. So I've got 12 inches from here to here, and I started out with 5 inches in the middle and 3.5 inch flaps. And so 3.5 inches. So it makes a nice rectangle size. But when I folded it over, there's a lot overlapping, which might be the size that would be good for some projects. And these flaps can be shortened. They don't have to overlap that much. I hope you can see how much they overlap. That's like 2 inches. So we're losing a lot of envelope space, but this makes a nice dimension, and I just inked the edges so you could see better what that looked like. But that's a lot of overlap. So if I was going to go for this dimension, I think what I would do is, it's getting a little awkward here now that it's all folded up, but I think what I would do is just bring those two sides in, and I can snip off a whole inch. And so instead of it overlapping that much, now see, that was a bit too much. See? Now it's just like right touching each other, but not overlapping. So that's where working with some scrap paper is a really good thing. All right, let me see what this was. So instead of being 3.5 inches, yeah, I took off a whole inch and that was too much. So that's right now, that's only 2.5 inches. So with this being 5 inches, you need more than 2.5. 2 3/4 inches would have been better. So, but this flap is nice because it comes down, it's a nice point, and we have enough dip here. And the dip is it's just over 1/2 inch, right around there. Okay, so then I wanted to make another one. So this dimension, let me make sure you can see that. So instead of 3.5, 2 3/4, if you wanted a 5 inch, well, you would be taking it off of here. So I know I've got a lot of numbers here. So take it for what it's worth. Make your own templates for sure and play around with it. So I'll be hanging on to this because this will be a really good example for me making them with good paper. Because you can also just lay this down on your scrapbook paper and kind of make little lines where you want to put things. So here was my second template. And this flap, I think, was too big. Now, if I made it to a point, it would be different. See, again, this is this experimenting stuff. Really important to experiment. But when I made this, I went to 3 1/4, and I made this middle 5 1/2. Okay. So again, I've got 3 3/4 and 3 out here for this little slant. But I thought this was just a little bit tall. So I tried some different dimensions of making this a taller envelope. So now that's where this one happened. I made this one with these different dimensions. And let me see, I better write those down. So in this case, all right, this one is 5 1/2. This is 3 1/4. This is 4 1/2. This is 4. And this is 1 1/2. Okay. So if you want to take a screenshot of any of this, please do. Okay. So these are the dimensions for this particular envelope style on a 12 by 12. And this whole thing adds up to 12 inches. This whole thing adds up to 12 inches. Okay. So on this one, again, I can modify it without creasing it. And let me go over here and just finding the point, because it really changes how it looks depending on the rest of it. All right, so now that looks really nice. And you can always like put a piece of washi tape in the middle or put some other kind of embellishment on here, a big oval or a piece of paper over the top of this so that it hides this join in the middle. And really the join, you can see here, you can hardly tell the join is there. It depends on how much pattern is on your paper as to how much of this join you actually see where they overlap. So this is a couple of different looks. Maybe you might want this big flap. And again, you can put this little circle, or in this case, I made a little rectangle to hold the flap down. So you have some choices. Whew. So I think, you know, I like this one, and I like this one with the triangular flap. So these are kinds of the two shapes that I really like. I don't care for this flap as much. I like this shape and I like this shape. This one is nice because I have a deeper envelope. So it, again, you can scale this to the size of the journal you're working on. And this little bitty guy, this was made with an 8-inch by 8-inch square. This is 12 by 12 inches. So there you go. So 8 by 8, 9 by 9, 10 by 10, 11 by 11. Whatever paper size you start with, you're going to have this graduated size of envelopes. So if that's all you need, you have dimensions. I'll show these again if you want to screenshot this. You have these dimensions. And then there are, so let me put this in red so it's a little easier to see. Okay, so here's this one that can also have the triangle. Okay, so this is for 12 by 12. You would make your own templates, okay, and experiment. And then this one, if you only want it 5 inches wide, you're going to cut some off. You know, maybe half an inch to 3/4, maybe a half inch to 3/4 of an inch off the sides, and not all the way in like I did here. So not a whole inch. But if you want it 5 inches by 3.5, you know, 3 by 5 is a real common kind of size. But I think I like this size. So this is probably the size I'm going to use the most. But if you have a smaller journal, you're going to need a smaller size. Okay, so that's enough chit chat on that. Let's go ahead. And I didn't do any particular decorating, but what I do recommend is that starting from scratch, the easiest way to start is just by folding it in half. And I've been working with just single-sided. I do have some double-sided here, so I'm going to make two, and I'm going to work from the inside out, and then it can get reversed. So initially, I just want to finger fold it. I don't want to use the bone folder just yet because I'm not sure whether I'm going to use the envelope this way in a signature or this way in a signature. So I haven't creased this hard in any direction. I didn't want to wear it out. So I start with just folding it in half. And yes, I need my dimensions. All right, so here's my template. And just line it up. And I've got this big board-like thing here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can just make a little mark there. And but I do find it easy for those 1/4 inches to just use a ruler. So there's 3 1/4, 1, 2, 3 1/4 this way. So I've got that. And I just go ahead and make sure I've got those dimensions there. And some of this you can just eyeball. 2, 3, 4.5. I'm going to go ahead and do the 4.5 on this one. Okay. And then all the way across. Which you don't have to. But I'll go ahead and mark 4 inches there. Okay. Well, just to make it really, really clear, if you're still watching, some of you can take this and just run with it and probably aren't watching anymore. But if you're still watching, thank you for being here. I hope that this is interesting. I haven't seen this done. It very well may be somewhere out there on a video. It's just this was me kind of fooling around and coming up with an idea and wanting to play with it and present it. And actually, I was thinking of making 3 of them in 30 minutes, and I didn't set a timer. Oh my, I didn't set a timer. I was going to set a timer. So let me see if I've got this within 30 minutes. Because you really can, if you're not chit-chatting and about things like I am right now, you could definitely make 3 of these envelopes in 30 minutes. So that is what I am going to go with right now. And now I'm not creasing it in the middle. I just want to bring the 2 sides together. So when I cut the flap, both sides are going to be exactly the same. There we go. And then we need the little slice off the bottom. Just a sliver. And of course, this is better for going in the gutter of the signature anyway, because it reduces bulk. Okay. And because I have lines on this side, I don't have lines on this side, I do go ahead and fold it. And I use my metal ruler and just ease it over. You can also use your bone folder for this. And kind of ease it over. And same texture. I'm going to do it the other way so I can see the line better, because I want to be just a little high of the line. And I don't want to crease this too much because it's going to be the opposite on the other side. I can always burnish it down later. Okay, and there they are. So ink the edges, decorate. Again, you can have them open, and you do want to put a little bit of glue on the bottom here. And that's because once it's in a signature, what happens is I did glue this one down. And what I was realizing was that with this being open a little bit, is whatever you put inside, if the bottom is open, things could kind of go into the signature a little bit and get stuck. Anything that you put in the envelope, it could slip down. So you kind of don't want that, I don't think. At least that's my thinking around it. But this way, there is a stop. It's not going to go into the gutter of the signature. So just a little tiny bead of glue right on that bottom edge on both of these, and then you've sealed the bottom. And so let me go ahead and do that. So there we go. So I'm sort of loath to do it here. I'm going to do it over here on this one because I don't want to block out my numbers over there. So just a little bead of glue on the bottom and on the bottom. Oh, forgot. And then just a little bead on the leading edge on this side and a little bead of glue on the leading edge of this side. Okay, there. So now you have your envelope. All right. I'm not quite ready to do it with this one. So I have this one. Actually, I'm going to keep this one out. I'm going to do the second one a little different. So we already have 1, 2. I'm going to make 2 more, but I'm going to speed it up. So let us start with this one. And again, this is something where if you're using a directional paper, it might not work as well if you have direction, because of course one is going to be right side up and one is going to be upside down. So it kind of depends. This one, it didn't matter because the paper didn't have a really strong defined direction. It's kind of goes in both directions. So that worked great. Okay, so let me keep my, you really need a template. I'm telling you, you've got to have a template. So I'm going to do this one on this piece of paper, and I'm going to give it a pointy flap, just so we have something different. So I'm always excited now. You know, I participated in the ABC April 2025 with Crafty by Toni and Margreth on 7 Plaza. So Toni and Margreth, oh my God, they're awesome. They just do these really cool things, and I've learned a lot from them. And my style is mostly different, but there's a lot of similarities that, you know, there's things that I've learned that I have incorporated into my own crafting. 1, 2, 3 and 3/4. I'm going to go with 3 3/4 on this one. And so I've just learned so much. I'm so grateful, but they're doing this August thing. And so I wanted to participate because I love challenges. 1, 2, 3 and 3/4. I love challenges. They stretch my my mind, you know, I get more creative, and um, it's really good. It's just really, really good to do these kinds of challenges. And so they're doing this new hashtag for the month of August, and I think they're going to do another one for September. So you'll have to kind of stay tuned. So if you haven't gone to Crafty by Toni or 7 Plaza, please do. They do some marvelous things. Okay, so let me trim this. So I'm doing this one a little different because I'm getting used to it. There we go. So yeah, they're doing this you have to do 3 projects in 30 minutes. So I hope that I manage to do that. There it is. Okay, I hope I manage to do that. But I'm going to do these as quick as I can. Now, this doesn't include embellishment. Of course, we are going to want to do embellishment. But for the structure, you know, this whole thing is really that you can make a structure and in this short space of time, because if you're just doing this and not yakking like I am, you will get it done. You'll have these done in like 15 minutes or less because I'm yakking. So, yeah. So easily you can make these envelopes in that space of time, right? All right. So now I'm going to do this. I'm not going to crease it. There we go. Let's see. I want to go, which way do I want to go? I want to go this way. I want to do this carefully so that I don't crease it in the middle. I can crease it just a little bit right here because that's where the point is. And you can tell I'm doing a lot of aiming now because I'm not drawing all the lines. And that's the beauty of it, is once you're familiar with this, you don't need to draw all the lines. Okay. And I would round that edge. Come on. Now see, once you have the dimensions, it goes very, very quickly. And I have just like just a little hangy thing there. Okay. All right. There we go. And that can go again, it can go in either direction. So there is number 2. Now this one, I haven't made one with a double-sided, but I thought it would be nice to do it with a double-sided. I'm going to see now, because this is more like cardstock, I want to find which direction does it like to fold easier. Not that it really matters, because these envelopes, I'm folding it in all sorts of different ways. So, but I think the direction of the grain would be more important to have the direction of the grain, which is this way on this piece of paper, aligned with the inside of the signature, if that makes sense, because the signature is going to open and close and open and close and open and close. And if we're with the grain, it's stronger than against the grain. Okay, so I'm going to go with that. I'm going to do it this direction because with the lines, actually, in this case, let's go ahead and take off the excess. Double check. Now, all right, this is the part that's going to go inside the signature. Oh, and I hope this is coming out on the video so that all right, now the big decision. Do I want this particular paper to look like this or like this? Decisions. It's the hardest decision you'll make. Okay. I think I'll go with a tall envelope, and that would be this dimensions. So these are the dimensions I want to go for. And it's a little hard to see here, so there we go. This is all going to get cut off anyway. I just want to make sure I see my mark. Okay, so I'm going to go to 4. So if you draw a little arrow, I could use a pen, but I'm not going to do that. So let me flip that around. Yeah, drawing a pencil line on lines makes it a little obscure. Now this is very stiff, so I am not going to want to, I'm not going to want to bend this the way I did it with the single-sided. So what I'm going to have to do is cut some off and then match it to the other side. So allow me to demonstrate that. But I can still start my folds. Yeah, I can still start my folds. And if you have improvements to this design, I would be delighted to know what those are. So please, let me know in the comments. There we go. So I'm just following the line exactly. At least this part I can cut these two sides together. Go. And that sliver off the bottom. And of course, if you feel more comfortable with a knife and a ruler, I'm very comfortable with scissors, but I know some folks aren't. So by all means, if you need to use a ruler and a knife, go for it. All right, so now I'm going to use my metal ruler. And I just want to get this started. There we go. Yeah, it's a little different with the cardstock. Okay. And then I got to cut those edges, but I just thought I'd get this started. And I'm folding just outside of the lines, just a little bit. So you can kind of see the line is fully exposed there. I just want to cover the line up and just get it started. So now I need to cut that. Now I could just use, I don't have a big corner punch. I've only got a little guide. So I'm just going to create, well, I can take this one for that matter. I can take my existing one and use it as a template, right? Yeah, this is much bulkier. Not bad, not bad. Might need to refine it a little bit. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So before I burnish it down, I want to make sure things are lining up nicely. Kind of having that sort of that starter fold is very helpful. Yeah, I definitely can feel that it was better to fold this whole thing with the grain. Definitely working for that. So you can do this with cardstock. I hadn't tried that yet. I'd only worked with the thin papers. Yeah, definitely want to ink the edges around the flap so that it stands out nicely. Okay. I like it. So now it would just be, I can punch out a couple of these. It's cardstock, so it's nice and stiff, but I still like to glue two together for a little button for holding the flap down, right? Okay, so these need to be inked. They need to be glued. Ink them before you glue them. But I do want to honor the three in 30 minutes. So I made three. They need inking, they need gluing. I have no idea whether I've gotten to 30 minutes, but I have a sneaking suspicion because I talked a lot that I have. But you can easily make three of these, including inking and gluing, in 15 minutes, right? Not even 30 minutes. But if you want to get into all the embellishing and the fun stuff, that can take a little longer. But I think the big part of this making three things in 30 minutes is about really finding little pockets of time. And I've always been an advocate of that, is that if you've got 10 minutes, 30 minutes, you can do something artsy, creative, just in these little pockets of time. So that's what this is about. And I want to make sure that you have the dimensions so you can take a screenshot and of these. And I would love to hear your comments. If you've seen this done by somebody else, great. I'd love to see their channel. So let me know. And yeah. All right. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish these off. And then I'll show you them a little more of in a finished state just to kind of close off the video. Okay. So be back. And just to kind of finish this video off, here are finished three envelopes. I mean, they're almost finished. So the green one, I just not quite sure what I'm going to do with it yet. I know I'm going to be doing like a nature garden-y kind of um, journal. So I'm just leaving this one really, really simple for now. I kind of inked the inside here a little bit, but I'm just leaving that one kind of simple. And once they're in a journal, they'll get trained. You know how that is, right? And this one, I am putting together the different components and ideas for kind of an ocean journal. So I had a little fun here. I used some decorative scissors with a National Geographic image and a doily and glued that on and glued it on to both sides and had a couple of fun fish images. And then I folded it over. Now this is the blue one. And what I did is I cut off that last little bit of flap. So you can see the flap in there. There's just a little bit of overhang. So that's something else you can think about is if you're going to do a decorative edge on your flap, you can leave it a little bit longer. And but the doily, I don't know, it just sort of I thought, oh, I wonder what that would be like. And this scrapbook paper is kind of a water. This is a water photo anyway. I thought, wow, yeah, that would work. That's cute. And on this one, I kind of went in the grunge direction. So I did put that sort of little thing there, and there are these nice pockets. And I left this open so that I could stamp some sort of word on it, a little packaging paper. And this little thing right here is a scrap that I cut off from the making of this. So it's on both sides. And so there's that one. And so there we go. This was my little envelope idea I wanted to share with you. Yes, I've gone to around 40 minutes on the video instead of three made in 30, but I made these three in 30. You know, if I was just concentrating on these, the envelopes themselves, a few minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and then the embellishing for what I've done. I haven't done this side yet, but once it's in the journal project, I'll have a better idea of how I want to finish these. But I feel good about this. I feel like, okay, yes, we've done the three under 30 minutes. It's just that I did a lot of chatting about the template. Anyway, I hope you are inspired. I hope you like this, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I'm going to be doing a couple of videos on paper bags, but I kind of wanted to jump in when I got this idea for the hashtag 3under30. And thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you very much. And I don't know, this is an idea I am going to explore more, and I hope you do too. So thanks again, and let me know what you think. All right, bye for now.